Monday morning, the world woke up to a new cyber threat, ransomware. Soon the RBI issued an advisory to banks, asking them to make sure that their ATMs have updated software systems with a Microsoft security patch. But most ATMs in the country still use the outdated Windows XP operating system, which makes them vulnerable to hacking. So many ATMs across the country remain shut today, particularly in Mumbai.
The RBI has directed the banks to operate their ATM service only after they receive an updated version of Windows on their ATM. From Monday evening, almost 60% of the ATM across country has stopped functioning, and the reason is ransomware attack that happened from Monday.
It's causing very problematic because I've tried 5-6 ATMs by now and none of them are working.
बहुत तकलीफ हो रही है. कल भी आया था, कल भी नहीं पैसा मिला, आज भी आया, आज भी नहीं पैसा मिलता है.
मुझको आज हॉस्पिटल में जाना था, अभी पैसे नहीं है, अभी मैं दवाखाने जाके क्या करूँ, अभी दूसरे बैंक में जाना है.
We actually having facing some issues with this ATM services and bankings. So it's been 2 days now. I haven't withdrawn the money.
Technology companies, banks, and conglomerates across the world have been hit by the ransomware attack. So how did this attack manage to cripple so many systems? And how can you safeguard yourself against it? Here's what experts say.
Should not try any website which is not known to you, or somebody is asking to type the password or anything. You should avoid these phishing attacks from your accessing the web.
When Vinayak Parab switched on his laptop this morning, within a matter of seconds, ransomware took over, infecting his computer, even debiting rupees 5,700 from his bank account.
मैं जब सिस्टम के ऊपर बैठा, अचानक एक पॉपअप आया, पॉपअप के ऊपर आया और जस्ट उसके ऊपर मैंने जब क्लिक किया तो पूरा मेरा डेटा लॉस्ट हो गया, पूरा पीसी फॉर्मेट हो गया. और पीसी फॉर्मेट के होने के बाद पूरा मेरा डेटा इनक्रिप्ट होने के बाद उन्होंने पूछा, एक मैसेज आया, ये डेटा आपको डिक्रिप्ट करना है तो आपको ये अमाउंट पे करनी पड़ेगी. और उसके दौरान मेरे बैंक में से एक ट्रांजेक्शन भी हो गया, क्योंकि मैं दूसरे ब्राउज़र में मेरा बैंकिंग का ट्रांजेक्शन जो रहा था ऑटोमेटिकली ट्रांजेक्शन होकर मेरे अकाउंट में से कुछ अमाउंट डिडक्ट हो गए.
Mumbai police on its part has issued a helpline number.
So you cannot segregate it. Anybody having a Windows computer is potentially vulnerable here. So what information I get from tech groups is that India is badly affected. But probably we have this culture of silence where nobody is coming and telling forward, telling about it, that they have been affected by this ransomware. But the information which I have from antivirus companies is that we have been affected quite badly.
But has the crisis been averted, or is India still at risk? Mirror Now report.
You're watching the Urban Debate on Mirror Now. I'm Faye D'Souza. Thank you for tuning in. Danger is not always visible or tangible or obvious. And I'm sure over the last couple of days, you've received some sort of a warning, either on WhatsApp or on an email, about something called WannaCry ransomware. The warnings mostly say it happens if you open an attachment on a Windows machine and it locks you out of your own computer. Now, here's the thing. These are normally warnings we tend to ignore because we think that they're hoaxes. This one, viewers, is not a hoax. This one is a serious problem, and that's the reason we're bringing it up, because we want you to be able to understand the risk. Now, here's the thing. The problem hit 200,000 computers in 150 countries across the world overnight. In China, for example, traffic came to a grinding halt. In the UK, patients had to be turned away from hospitals because their national healthcare system was affected. Big companies across the world like FedEx, Nissan, Hitachi were all impacted, and they had to actually stop functioning until they got on top of this. In India, we understand we're among the worst affected, but it doesn't seem that bad from where we're looking at it. But according to the PTI, we have 2.2 lakh ATMs in this country, 60% of which run on Windows XP. That is the very target of this attack. And they all had to be closed because they had to be checked for this ransomware or this virus. The IT Ministry of the government has asked the RBI, the UIDAI, which is a company that manages Aadhaar, and several other government organizations to advise them to protect their systems. So the question that we're asking is very simple this evening. What is this ransomware? Does it actually pose a risk? And more importantly, if we currently live in a world of digital India, where all of our details are online, where you have these massive databases of our details, of our Aadhaar, of our PAN cards, what kind of risk are we at? If the government felt, or the RBI felt, that all ATMs needed to be rechecked, which is possibly why you have not been able to access an ATM today. If all ATMs had to be rechecked, then is my banking data safe? Can someone hack into the data, move money around? Is that a possibility? These are all very, very real threats. And they're threats that we have to address. Our phone lines are open because we've put together perhaps the best set of panel of experts on this subject. So if you have a question about whether or not it can affect you, if it's already affected you, pick up the phone and call us. Joining us on this show, Pawan Duggal, advocate specialized in the field of cyber law and e-commerce law. Ritesh Bhatia is a cyber security expert joining me in Mumbai. Vineet Goenka is a member of the IT task force and the former national convener of information technology in the BJP. Dr. Manish Kumar is a cyber security expert as well, joining us in Bangalore. Brijesh Singh is the secretary of the Director General of Information and Public Relations Department and the state spokesperson for the Maharashtra government. Manu Zakaria is a cyber security expert from Pune. Bugres Cooper is a partner, information and cyber security, Ernst & Young. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to start with Pawan Duggal. Very straightforward question. Pawan Duggal, what is ransomware? Why is everybody talking about it? And are we at risk?
Ransomware is a computer program which comes into your computer without your knowledge and then locks all your files or data, encrypts it and asks for money or ransom for the purposes of decrypting it and allowing you access back to that particular data. So clearly, ransomware is a very data hungry kind of a malware. It's a distinct kind of malware, but the question is, it's now assumed more significance because of the recent attack. Well, it's not that ransomware is new. We have been talking about ransomware for the last few years. And last year, the industry experts had predicted that ransomware is going to be big time in 2017. But this attack, nobody had actually anticipated. The biggest attack ever in the history of human mankind, which has seen 150 countries and with what, 200,000 computers, which I think is a very, very undercry. The actual figures are going to be far worse and the actual losses are going to run into millions of dollars. Clearly, all of us are at risk if we are using the Microsoft operating system or if you are using any device which is based on this particular platform. But I think this particular attack, I see it from another angle. I see this attack as the dawn of a new era. The era that's going to shatter all our previous perceptions that things are safe. Nothing is safe. Everything is capable of being hacked, targeted and attacked, and we will continue to be seeing these kind of attacks. And therefore, the focus now has come back to basic cyber hygiene, basic cyber security, and trying to ensure that we inculcate the elements of cyber resilience as part of our day-to-day lives.
Mr. Duggal, I have this question for you, and we've had several discussions on this channel in the past about whether or not our data is safe. Our Aadhaar data, our banking data, our PAN card data, all of which is now going to be linked to each other. And there's going to be these massive databasing that's happening that the government is doing. For me, every time I walk into a government office, I see them using these really old computers. I'm not sure if they've updated the software. I'm not sure if they've managed, to put in the firewalls that are necessary. Is my data safe? Can the IT, the income tax department keep my data safe? Can the, the companies that manage my Aadhaar data, is it safe, Mr. Duggal?
Let me give a point-blank answer to your question. Your data is not safe. Primarily because the standards of safety have not been set up. India as a nation has had a very lax approach towards cyber security. All we have been doing is doing lip service to cyber security. India does not even have a law, a dedicated law on cyber security, which can at least elaborate the roles, duties, and responsibilities of all stakeholders. In addition, we do not have a data protection law. We have no law on privacy. We have a government that's arguing before the Supreme Court that citizens in the country do not have a fundamental right to privacy. So in this entire matrix of things that's coming up, at a time when the Information Technology Act 2000 is now old and outdated, and it does not even cover cybercrimes like ransomware. The answer to the crystal clear question is, in this entire ecosystem of the data economy that we are creating, where Aadhaar is going to be the basis for everything, our data is not safe. There are no parameters for safety. There are no requests or mandatory obligations for ensuring safety and security. And on top of it, much that the Information Technology Act 2000 does straddle various service providers and intermediaries with responsibilities for implementing, maintaining, and ensuring that they have in place reasonable security practices and procedures. We have by and large seen that entities are complying with the IT Act in breach rather than in compliance. So in a nutshell, we as a nation need to do quite a lot on cybersecurity and on making our data more secure. And that's the reason why continuous breaches are continuing to keep on happening, whether it's databases of Aadhaar, whether it's databases of financial or other records.
Let me bring in Vineet Goenka because he's already smiling and he knows that this question is going to come to him. Vineet Goenka, who represents the government, you heard very clearly what Pawan Dugal had to say. We are not safe, our Aadhaar data is not safe, our IT data is not safe. None of it is safe, Vineet. And somehow you represent a government right now that's arguing that we have no right to privacy.
Let me just first understand who is doing this entire ransom activity. Now, this kind of large-scale things can be done by a raw state, because this cannot be done by an individual, or this can be done by an agency of some state which has gone raw. Okay, or some probably individuals who have come together to form a cult. Okay, now these kind of people come, they're called as cyber predators. Okay, and these kind of people can actually attack you. But then if I speak about the systems which we have, I think CERT, that is CERT, NIC are well equipped to handle these kind of things. As rightly said by the minister yesterday, there has been very, very small incidences in India, and whatever we have done is primarily to take precaution. And when you take a precaution, does not mean you are panicked. You're just trying to check whether something is wrong. And it's a good system to do a pre-check. Okay, and that's why I think there is an advisory not to use systems which can have financial implications. Why do I disagree with Pawan Dugal ji? Primarily because when these kind of cyber predators attack, then there are cyber scavengers who try to make money out of this. So if there is some problem, let us also make something out of that. So you try to create another panic in the people, saying that, hey, your systems are not safe, your data in Aadhaar or UID is not safe, you can't think. Then the law has been discussed, but you don't have to panic so much. I think we have solid trust in the system of CERT, the NIC. Brijesh Singh can actually speak more about what kind of precautions we take when there is back home it is be done. So these kind of attacks are foreseen. There are preparations. We don't discuss this in public because if you discuss all this in the public, the confidence will go down.
Let me bring in Ritesh Bhatia. Ritesh Bhatia. See, it might be a group of people. It might be a single person. It might be someone who is mischievous or someone who actually... None of that really matters. What matters is, are we at risk or are we not at risk? Is our data safe? Is it not safe? That's fundamentally the question. The motive behind what is being done is irrelevant to the question. Ritesh, are we safe?
Absolutely not. I would completely agree with
standard operating protocols, have vaccinations, have got procedures which we can tackle this kind of emergencies. I have a total faith in the boys who handle these things back home in the CERT, NIC and the other agencies which we have. There are many agencies which probably cannot be discussed on this channel right now, but they are there, they are very vigilant, and we have already taken care of that. I think probably we'll have to trust that our systems were least affected.
Okay, Ritesh. Okay, all right. We didn't take rebuts to what you're saying.
I'll just take 1 minute, one more. Okay. I'll just take 1 minute. Like you have terrorist organizations taking care of challenges with the security agencies, you have these kind of groups which will come out and do things, activities. And whenever these kind of challenges will come, we have boys who take care of this. When I say boys, it is both the genders. But then they will take care of this. And believe me, India is the best secured place right now. Now, as far as the system of Windows goes, probably Microsoft has already issued a patch. They are taking care of that. Now, this can be a challenge by a competitor of Microsoft. This can be done by some enthusiasts.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Vineet Goenka, I understand what you're saying. I'm not asking you about who's doing it or why they're doing it. I'm asking about if someone decided to actually cause us real harm tomorrow. You used the word terrorism. I did not. If someone decided to actually cause us real harm tomorrow using our computers, are we in a position to fight off that attack? Can someone bug into the Aadhaar system and get all of our data? Ritesh.
Yes, Faye. As I said earlier, I mean, I completely agree with the, Pawan ji about whatever he said. See, firstly, we are saying that there haven't been too many attacks over here, but that's absolutely incorrect. The attacks have been wide scale. The thing in India, it is, as Pawan sir said, that there is no law as such. In other countries, it's imperative that it has to be reported.
Don't we have a cyber terrorism, under the IT Act, Section 66F? Doesn't that count as a law?
Yes, that is there as such. But here we are talking about how many attacks have happened and why, Vineet ji is saying that it's not really much that has impacted India. How do we know? Now, there are so many corporates who have not come and reported, because it's not mandatory for them to come and report. In other countries, it is mandatory to go and report, like these many attacks have happened on ransomware. What about over here? As Pawan ji said, what happens about the Data Protection Act over here? We have no data privacy law also. So tomorrow, and when it comes to technology, we can be attacked anytime. As far as one thing, I would strongly disagree with Vineet ji that we have the best of the cybersecurity experts. No, we don't have. We just feel, there are people who will just recover some, something from your hard disk and you'll say, oh, they're a cybersecurity expert. Somebody will remove footage from a CCTV and you'll say he's a cybersecurity expert. No, we don't have that kind of expertise, not at least in the government sector, where you can say, okay, this particular, we have these kind of cyber warriors who can actually protect our data.
Ritesh, also, I know that, there are, and I'm going to ask that question again, we do know there are several government offices that use computers that are outdated. Are they using software that's valid? Are they updating their software? Is the kind of data that they're handling, is it safe?
When I used to go to solve certain cases for police, when they would call me, I used to be shocked. Sometimes they were using quite outdated systems. I really don't know now, because Brijesh has taken a lot of efforts to upgrade many systems all across Maharashtra. But yes, I would see a lot of systems with XP. I would see some pirated softwares like of Office and all. And
hang on. Are you saying that you visited police stations and the police were using pirated software?
Well, in 1-2 cases, yes. I can't name the station or whatever, but this is what I'm saying. It's a matter of few years back. But
did you, Ritesh, report about this? Because Ritesh, can I
intervene? To whom? To the police?
Did you report this kind of malicious software has been used by police to then someone?
No, I didn't.
Because you raised a point that we don't report to the police about all this attack.
But technically he would have to report it to the police who was using the malicious software, because who else will he report to? Ritesh works with the cyber cells.
I doubt this is true. Let's say one individual.
No. See, as I said, this is definitely true. 2 years back when I had visited 2 particular stations, okay, and I saw this, and as I also told you, yes, Brijesh has taken in a lot of efforts to upgrade a lot of systems. So I wouldn't say that as of date, whether it's true or not, I cannot comment.
Let's bring in Brijesh Singh, Secretary of the Director General of Information and Public Relations Department, spokesperson, Government of Maharashtra. Brijesh Singh, is India safe, and are our policemen using pirated software?
Okay, I think the problem is the discussion is going everywhere. Now let's first of all focus on this ransomware threat. So we cannot in one breath talk about this, what is happening to users who are using unpatched systems, and then the security of protected systems like Aadhaar. So let me tell you that wherever we have a protected system, we have excellent state-of-the-art cybersecurity. Similarly, the financial sector has excellent cybersecurity. Though you see that the ATMs would be using something like Windows XP, but they are not exposed to internet. There are other ways to spread malware there, and I think as a precautionary measure, RBI has asked them to patch it before they are restarted again. So it's like a maintenance downtime, which is good enough. Secondly, if you talk about cybersecurity of systems like Aadhaar and other governmental systems, let me tell you that in government of Maharashtra, the IT department has done a very good job, and none of the government computers in Mantralaya, in Mumbai, there are thousands of computers. They have been patched, they have been updated, they are behind a firewall, and they have intrusion protection system, malware detection systems. Not a single computer was was affected. Similarly, the whole of Maharashtra police runs on CCTNS, Crime and Criminal Tracking Network System. It's a huge network across all police stations in Maharashtra. It runs on Linux. Not a single computer was affected. So now, if we really are to compare today the performance of government and the private sector, I think we are doing much better than others.
Okay, so only in Maharashtra, Ritesh says. I also want to ask you this question. You said none of the computers in Mantralaya, which is the Chief Minister's office for those of our viewers who are not in, not in the state of Maharashtra. But I want to ask you this. What about the registrar's office, where you register property and you have to hand in your Aadhaar card and a copy of all of your data? What sort of computers are they using there? What about the RTO? What sort of computers are they using there? Anywhere where we have to give in our personal details, are they using strong computers? When we book railway tickets, are they using strong computers? Is there a possibility there of any sort of data leak? Brijesh?
So see, getting affected by ransomware is different from a data breach kind of scenario. So for everything there are different remedies, and there are organizations which have very stringent measures to protect data. They have DLP policies, and ransomware is something which is different from data breach. Now data breach can happen in different ways. It can be even an insider which is leaking data. But if we just focus on ransomware was a result of systems which were unpatched. It was also due to one particular exploit from very recently. The hacking toolkit of NSA of America was hacked and exposed to the world by somebody who calls themselves shadow brokers, and there was something called Eternal Blue in that. Now that was weaponized, and it was exploiting a particular share in Windows. It's called SMB. SMB is a mechanism of file sharing in Windows. That is why this spread throughout the world. And it made Windows
so I understand what you're saying, Brijesh, that we shouldn't confuse the two things. But my submission here is very simple, that if ransomware, for whatever reason, could lock down computers across the world and could lock down the data and the files on those computers, which means that they could access the data and the files on those computers. Now, whether they use that access to extort money out of the computer owner or they use that access to actually access the data, that is a different thing. I want to bring in Dr. Manish Kumar. Dr. Manish Kumar is a cybersecurity expert, joins us from Bangalore. Dr. Kumar, tell us this, for an average person watching right now who's wondering if this thing is a hoax, should I be worried, should I shut down my Windows computer, what do you recommend they do?
First of all, I would like to congratulate government that they have taken initiative, and CERT.in has given the advisory to how to protect your system and how to patch the vulnerabilities. Point number 2, I would like to say that a normal person should not panic if they are using genuine software and if they have installed all the patches on their systems and updated antiviruses. Point number 3, as far as ATM and bank is concerned, I would like to congratulate government because in a precautionary measure, they circulated instruction to their agencies that please check the vulnerability and then bring the system up. They would have not circulated it, and you might have come to know that thousands of ATM has been already compromised. But I just want to know that till today, I have not seen much cases reported in India. So we should appreciate the government effort and RBI effort that they are taking initiative. As far as security is concerned, it is 100% security is total myth. No country can give you 100% security, whether it is developed or developing country. If that is the case, why US, Russia and other countries are getting affected? So we should see the practicality, how much we are secure. That is, we have to evaluate ourselves, and this whole system work on the trust. Yes, till now we have very less kind of attack and vulnerability in India. We must trust the government, we must trust the system, the whole system is on trust. There are compromises, there are vulnerability attack, but if you look into this particular attack, this is a serious negligence by the people who has not patched their vulnerability, whereas Microsoft has already released in the March 2017. Today we are in May. Why it has happened? It is the negligence of the user.
But
so, in
Dr.
general
Manish,
sense, if I just
Manish,
explain, a normal user, whoever is...
Right. Go ahead. Ritesh, go ahead.
Dr. Manish, when you're talking about the negligence of users or something, what about even the negligence of the banks in this case? Because, you would well know about it, that in Windows XP came in 2001. it was like the support was withdrawn in 2009. It was then extended till 2013, and we are in 2017. And yet,
it's still being used.
It's still being used, and I'm not just saying government or normal users. I'm saying even large organizations, they are using it. And as far as the second point is concerned, yes, CERT did a great job, by giving the advisory. But this advisory had also come, itself on the very same day on Friday, Saturday also.
Right. So see, let me just point out these cases. In Kerala, for example, there was the computers that were being used with pirated versions of Microsoft had to be shut down because there were government offices in Kerala that were using problematic computers. In Bengal, computers in 4 blocks of the West Midnapur district had been affected. They had to be shut down. In Gujarat, 120 computers connected to the Gujarat government's IT technology network were also hit. In Andhra Pradesh over the weekend, 100 systems of the Andhra Pradesh Police Department were affected. So this has happened across the country. Let me bring in all of the other voices as well. Manu Zakaria.
Can I answer it now?
Manu Zakaria, do you believe we're safe?
Can I answer it now? Can I answer it now?
Okay. Dr. Manish Kumar, go ahead.
Can I answer it now?
Okay, Dr. Manish Kumar, go ahead.
Can I answer it now? Yeah, see, the thing is, I am not defending any banking organization or any government organization. I have just clearly told that it is a serious lack of negligence. Whoever it is a government organization or police department or any banking organization. What I want to say that you cannot do the 100% security. You have to be always on toes. You have to update yourself, and then you can get some kind of assurance. So I'm not defending that why it happens with those agencies or government agencies. It is their negligence. They must be, government should take action on them that why they were using the piracy software, and if there is any kind of harm has happened, then they have to recover it. They should take the actions.
All right. Manu Zakaria is a cyber security expert, also an ethical hacker. Manu Zakaria, do you believe that we're safe?
Okay, so what I believe is that there is nothing called 100% security like the previous panelist said. 100% security is a myth. Also, I would like to add few points like this was a well-planned attack because this was launched on a weekend. And the positive side of the response is that within one day you see the government agencies coming out with advisories. So that is one of the best thing from a positive side I would like to add here. But at the same time, like what Mr. Brijesh said, it's a very interesting point that the NSA kit that was used for attack, it was hacked. Okay, so we are talking about one of the world's most powerful organization getting hacked. If they can get hacked, we can just think what is the state of our Aadhaar or the sensitive data. So, okay, anyone can get hacked is the point here. Let me also add one point. Is we are talking about the mainstream systems. There are so many critical national infrastructures. If they get infected or if they go down, I'm sure all of you are aware of the attack on Estonia. It was a warfare attack or a digital attack. The country was down for 2 weeks. So are we having regular drills and regular audits and tests to address these kind of problems is the next point that we should address. So to summarize is like there is nothing called 100% security. We all have to be always
vigilant. There was a very deadly attack on
for all the people.
Iran nuclear plant.
Okay, so my question is very simple. My question is whoever wants to answer this question, please raise your hand. Whoever wants to answer this question,
Can I add a perspective here, please?
Yes, okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Cooper. Yes.
Can I add a perspective out here? Instead of saying how safe are we or are we not, I would like to take the discussion to say if we need to be safe or secure, what needs to be done to ensure we are there? We can keep on debating, are we safe, yes, not. But is it really so difficult? Okay, as long as we ensure that the basic patching is done, and I must congratulate the CISOs of the country and all the security folks who have really worked overtime over the weekend, who ensured all systems are patched. Something called IOCs, the indicator of compromise, have been secured on the gateways. CNC addresses, the command and control centers of the bad guys in Russia and other countries have been secured, stopped. So yes, we can, as we debate, are we safe or not? I would like to take it more that what does it take to ensure we are safe? and how ready are we? And there, I must say that India has as good a people as anybody in the world and as good a cyber professionals as anyone to help ensure our government and companies are safe. And our CISOs in India are probably as good or as best as anywhere in the world. And that's my perspective on this.
All right, I'm actually going to roll this back. I know everyone's had their say. I'm going to roll this back and start again with Pawan Duggal. I have very simple questions for you, Mr. Duggal. Question number one, has the risk passed? So if I'm watching at home right now, I have a Windows, maybe desktop, laptop, I have a Windows cell phone. Is the risk gone, or is there still a risk to me and my computer?
The answer to this depends on what have you done with your computer. Have you updated the Windows operating system with the right kind of security patches, including the patches that were given by Microsoft in March 2017 as of Friday? If you've done that, then you're relatively safe. However, that's not to rule out any potential further attacks that are going to take place. Please understand, I believe a lot of this attack has got a germination or connections with the darknet. And we've also heard noises in the corridors of the internet that these cyber criminals are now increasingly working on mutants and variants of this kind of the ransomware, so as to ensure that the spread of this ransomware, which was stopped by the accidental kill switch, can now be negated, and this kind of a ransomware continues to be disseminated across the world. So updation of your Windows operating system and keeping a backup is initial good first steps, but these are like first aids. If you are expecting that your entire wound is going to be healed up by just putting a first aid, I think we are mistaken. We need to do far more to address the wound per se, and for that I think we need to work things at two levels. Number one, at the international level, and number two, at the national level. At the international level, since all nations have been caught completely sleeping by this kind of an attack, there's a need for internationally nations to come up together, to come up with the international cyber law regimes, because there's no one international cyber law in place. Since 2015, I've been talking about the need for having an international convention on cyber law and cyber security. Never more has that become more relevant than in today's context. And more so in the Indian context, I think a lot of focus is to come back on strengthening the cyber security ecosystem, including working on the legal policy and the regulatory issues. It's time when countries like China and Germany have demonstrated thought leadership and said, look, we are coming up with such far-reaching out laws impacting cybersecurity. Countries like India have been sleeping away to glory. It's time to wake up and just address each and every element and level of security on the ecosystem as a whole. Because, mind you, this attack is the first of its kind. I see it as the beginning of a dawn of new kinds of attacks coming in. But more significantly, how do you deal with the detection, investigation and prosecution of these kinds of cyber criminal gangs?
Mr. Duggal, exactly half the members on this panel have agreed that the government has done a stellar job, that everyone worked over the weekend to keep us all safe. So doesn't that suggest that we're ready and, for anything that might come at us in the future?
Well, if we are going to fight a war without the ammunition, without the requisite guns and the requisite wherewithal, I'm sure we can have some successes in the war, but ultimately we may not succeed in winning the war, primarily because the toolkits that are required for you to deal with the war are clearly missing. You do not have in place adequate parameters. You talked in the beginning about security. There's no specific clarity in the thought process within the government as to what all constitutes cyber security. Just giving an overwhelming definition of cyber security under the IT Act would not transform a dead legislation like the IT Act into India's superhero legislation on cyber security. Clearly, the roles, duties of all stakeholders in the event of an attack like this has to be well thought over and well elaborated and explained to all stakeholders so that we are not caught napping the next time this kind of an attack.
I want to ask Brijesh Singh this question. Brijesh Singh, again, very simple question I'm going to ask you. If someone has received, it's clicked on something, now their computer is locked and they've received a ransom note that says you have to pay this much money in the next 24 hours or you won't have access to your own files, should they pay the money?
They should not pay the money. It encourages the cyber criminal. The first thing they should do is that if their data is important, I suppose that they would have backed it up. just format the computer and restore it from your backup. But I would also like to respond to the larger point which Pawan made about the preparedness of government for future cyber attacks. I think this is a wake-up call. You'll be happy to know that Maharashtra has a 1,000 crore cyber security project. The Chief Minister of Maharashtra takes personal interest in this, and he has been asking updates on a weekly basis on the cyber security project. Similarly, Maharashtra Cyber has been, it responded very fast to these ransomware threats. We started a helpline. You know, today we have got more than 400 calls on that helpline. We did it with the help of a private player. We got 400 calls on that helpline where people were asking us about what preventive measures they can take. We are going to, in Maharashtra at least, I think we have a very clear roadmap. And
preventive measures. Brajesh Singh, tell us some of the preventive measures. What are the preventive measures? Of course, Mr. Duggal told us about how you should update all of the software. You should make sure that you put in the patches that Windows has offered you over the last year or so, a couple of years. What else can we do?
Basic cyber hygiene. See, if you're looking at the individual user, basic cyber hygiene, you use some kind of antivirus you should use. You should not use a pirated operating system. You should upgrade your computer. You know, normally when the upgrade patch comes, you say, no, I'll do it tomorrow. But you understand that these patches are actually a result of discovery, and people have worked over their weekends to find out what kind of vulnerabilities exist. And this comes from a lot of information from dark web, from, you know, threat intelligence sharing. And then these patches are made and rolled out. So never please ignore these patches. So antivirus, basic cyber hygiene. We also need to educate the user about you know, malicious files, about emails, about things which look very attractive, but they should not click on these links, because these are vectors of malware.
Don't click on suspicious attachments that come from people you do not know. Don't go on to websites that you don't normally go on to. Namish is on the phone line from Bangalore. Namish, very quickly, what's your question? Namish, can you hear me? Go ahead.
Yeah. Hello?
Yes, Namish, what's your question?
My question is to Manu Zakaria, sir, that actually, let's talk about the remediation program. So we have a vulnerability assessment programs running out throughout the countries, various countries, which actually bring out many of the penetration testers and groups so that we can work on the existing vulnerabilities and we can patch them. So why can't we run the same program in India, as you said in the lecture?
All right, let me just quickly take. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I'm not a spokesperson from the.
Okay, go ahead, Manu.
So from a government perspective, I don't think I can answer it. But from a end user perspective, as well as a security researcher, I have one point here. If you look at most of the discussion points today, everybody was talking about having original operating system or not using a pirated operating system, which is very good, very fine. What most of us do is we buy an original operating system, pay for it, buy it, and then on top of it, we put a pirated antivirus or a pirated firewall, which nullifies all these efforts. So if you look at the Indian population and see how many of us run 100% original software system, I would say it is less than 5%. So 95% of the systems running in India, at least one software is pirated. And studies have shown that almost all the pirated softwares have backdoors. So we are inviting an external party to get into our system. And
let me simplify this. Let me simplify this for the benefit of our viewers. Ritesh Bhatia, I have this question for you. We've gone over what we can do, which is upgrade all of the patches on our Windows computers. Brajesh told us what we should do if you receive a ransom note. There's no hope. You've lost your files. Don't pay any of the money. You should have backed up by now. If you haven't backed up, then do it right now. Ritesh, what sort of links or attachments or websites should we not be clicking on in order not to get into trouble?
Okay, firstly, anything that comes in your email. Okay, any kind of attachment, and particularly from an email sender whom you don't know. So that's very important. And another thing we are basically missing is always, it may show Ritesh Bhatia, but it might not be from Ritesh@v4web.com. Have a look at that email ID. is that correct or is it a fake? You get so many gift cards from Amazon. Just check it out. If it is from Amazon.com or Amazon.in, you might find it something different. So these, and they will say, click here to claim your gift card. So this is one thing definitely you don't click upon. Now there is a new thing called as malvertising. Malvertising is like advertising, but all malware
fake.
Things are coming up on your list.
So it looks like an advertisement.
It looks like an advertisement.
But it's actually a trap.
It's actually particularly a trap.
And you should not click on it.
Definitely not on such
And how do I know the difference between a genuine advertisement and a trap?
See, the genuine ones, I mean, now this is also becomes a responsibility. Let's say, for example, if you are having a channel, you would want to make sure that this is a genuine company that's running. So that is the same thing that happens on Google or on Facebook, that they are running genuine. So they have a team which takes care of it.
No, so my question is, you said perhaps Amazon, it'd be, I get a gift card from Amazon, maybe I get a gift card from a company that wants to look like Amazon.
Yes.
How do I tell the difference between the two?
So again, that's basically from the formatting you come to know. And secondly, what you come to know is from the email ID, not the name that appears. As I said, it could be
don't
Amazon.
Open any attachments until
Absolutely
this
no,
whole thing
and
has passed.
no clicking like links over there. The moment you and even if you take your mouse over, if it is from Amazon, it will show www.amazon.in/something. Here, when you take your mouse over and it is showing something very weird, it's taking to a Russian website or a .cn China website, don't click on it.
Don't click on it. All right, Vikram is on the phone line from Himachal Pradesh. Vikram, if you can hear me, go ahead.
Yeah, I could hear you clearly.
Yes, what's your question, Vikram?
My question is for Mr. Vineet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Vikram?
Yeah, Mr. Vineet.
Yeah, he can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Vineet. Whom shall I
can listen to you. I can hear you.
Since the government is wanting to make Aadhaar mandatory, whom shall I hold responsible if my data is breached, which causes a threat to my family security? Will your smile will help me out in that case, or if someone is going to take the responsibility, the onus will lie on someone, or I have to just feel the heat of just breach of my data?
Vineet Goenka, do you want to answer that question very quickly?
Understand your... Yeah. You don't have to worry about that. There are people who takes care of that. And this is like another attack which people take care of. There are agencies which take care of this kind of thing. There are systems, protocols which have been taken care of. As I said earlier, there are standard procedures which takes care of no attacks been happening. Now, in case it happens, there are responsibility matrices which have been taken care of. So you have to be rest assured the data is really secured. Okay, and there are people who are taking care of it. While you are sleeping, they are awake to take care of this.
Okay, very quickly, Pawan Dugal. The question was about responsibility. Who shall we hold responsible, Pawan Dugal?
Well, in this case, the question, let me add some flavor to the dish. As per the Aadhaar Act, if you as a user find that your Aadhaar number is misused or compromised, then you have no remedy under the Aadhaar Act. In fact, Section 47 of the Aadhaar Act 2016 categorically even strips away from you the obligation to report this to the law enforcement agency. You cannot make a police complaint. It's only the UIDAI which is authorized to make a complaint. And of course, UIDAI has made some FIRs, but can't be seen to be making FIRs all the time. I think the intrinsic problem with the Aadhaar Act was that it was all seeing Aadhaar from the perspective of Aadhaar being voluntary and seeing it from the perspective of the central identities data repository. What the law did not even envisage the current day situation where the government is saying, I want to make everything mandatory. Now, when you're making everything mandatory, you're creating an Aadhaar-based ecosystem, and that ecosystem is completely unsafe. Cyber security as an issue has not been addressed adequately under the Aadhaar Act. Even issues pertaining to civil liberties, pertaining to data protection, pertaining to privacy have not been addressed. So as a user, if that question has come from Himachal Pradesh, I can let you know much that what else is looking at. The law is very, very ruthless. The law says you have no remedy. And I think the law is distinctly defective. But coming back to your question about whose responsibility shall it be, I think it's high time that the government should expand the scope and the ambit of intermediary liability under the Information Technology Act 2000. Earlier in the 2015 landmark judgment of Shreya Singhal, the Supreme Court had substantially narrowed down the focus on intermediary liability. But let's be known, the government has the power to go ahead and amend the IT Act to say it's going to be an integral part of every intermediary and service provider's responsibility to ensure that cyber security norms are appropriately adhered to. And if they're not, then it becomes itself a penal offense, punishable with imprisonment and fine. In addition, it should also become a basis for seeking damages by way of compensation against intermediaries.
So fundamentally,
a lot of interesting tools and customized approaches that the government does have. It'll be interesting to see.
Right. So fundamentally, what Mr. Duggal is saying that as per the Aadhaar Act, you and I as citizens have no remedy. If our data is leaked, we can't even file an FIR. It is the UIDAI that has to file the FIR on its own. So you have no remedy, and we have a government at this point that's arguing in the Supreme Court that we have no right to privacy either. So we don't need the remedy because our privacy has not been violated because we don't have privacy. So this is a matter of concern. But let me wrap up with this. If you have a Windows computer, you need to update all of the software with all of the patches that Microsoft has sent you over the last couple of years. Back up all of your data, especially if it's a Windows XP computer. Do not click on any attachment or any website or any pop-up on your computer, irrespective of how interesting it may seem, because that is how the attack has happened. If the attack does happen, do not pay any money to anyone. You've unfortunately lost access to your files. What you need to do is reformat your computer. So that's the advice you're getting right now. In the meantime, we're going to keep an eye on these ATMs. 60% of the ATMs in our country are shut down to just make sure that they are not attacked by this malware, not because they have been attacked by the malware. We'll keep an eye on it to find out how quickly these ATMs can get back on their feet. And if you've had trouble, get in touch with us. We'll put you in touch with one of our very helpful cybersecurity experts who've been on the show to help us understand what's going on. But in the meantime, our data is not as safe as we would like it to be. We'll also keep a close eye on this channel on the safety of your Aadhaar data. And we'll bring you updates of what's happening in the Supreme Court as well. Thanks for watching.